Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank everybody in attendance for joining us and those online. First item on our agenda would be approval of the minutes.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the agenda. Any additions to the agenda?
I've had some comments about the price of snow removal that they're getting on their, or townships are spending money almost faster than they can get it, so we should probably talk about that.
We'll add snow removal to Kevin's agenda. How is that? Works for everybody? Any other additions to tonight's agenda? If not, motion to approve agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. Mr. Gunderson.
I got an estimate from Matt Plumbing for switching the toilets and urinals that are not battery operated to battery operated here in the building. I had got contacted Clemens Root and Crowfoss and never heard back from either one of them. So I have one estimate from Matthew Mack. And that total should come down a little bit because those 10 battery side mount kits, I could put them on myself. I thought he was gonna go with the top mount ones, and he said, no, because they don't work very well. And we have side mount ones that we've had 15, 20 years that I put on back then. Other than replacing batteries, they've never given it any trouble. So.
Okay. Any questions? Motion to approve the bid, or do we want to continue with seeking others?
This would be everything then, everything switched over?
Yes.
The flushers. So. Questions, comments?
I would so move to approve. This money will come out of the COVID money then, or how is that gonna work? Do we have nothing that can't even get any stuff from that?
Nope. All ARPA money left.
Would be in building in Roger's budget currently? The
Yeah, I
buildings
have.
and grounds?
I have some money.
Okay.
Or building improvements.
Pardon?
Or building improvements.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the touchless toilet flushers? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I do have one other comment. Contacted a guy about cleaning the vents here way back in October. Yesterday, he finally showed up
Oh,
and looked at it. Wasn't real interested, but he did say he would come up with an estimate. So
okay.
I'll have to wait and see how it goes. He felt he should be able to do them pretty well.
Oh.
So we had cleaned the Harvey schools last summer or something, and I talked to them and they were well pleased with his work, so. He's out of Bismarck. I contacted a few of Grand Forks and either they didn't do commercial or just didn't do any. But he was the only one that was at all interested. So,
About 63 years of gunk in there,
yeah.
so,
Yeah, there's gonna be some nasty stuff coming out there.
be interesting to see what his bid is when it comes
Yeah.
back. Appreciate that.
So, other than that, that's all I have.
Okay,
All right, thanks.
thank you.
Thanks, Roger.
Mr. Crosby, I know he was out sick yesterday. And, I haven't gotten a message back from him, so we will put him on the agenda for some other night. I know he was pretty excited to discuss that Washington DC trip that, we gave him approval to attend. And, he had asked for the time off and back when, and so a lot of interesting things that he had to discuss on that. Judge Fody not here yet? Okay. Mr. Singer,
All right, I don't have too much, so a couple weeks, supervising group got together and we just wanted to clean up some of the wording, in our length of service. And so we kind of came up with, let's break it down to when these anniversary changes happen by months, not by years. So we've made that change, and then as we were discussing our policy, we were looking at the top paragraph, and it basically says no use of annual accrual in your first 6 months. Well, first of all, none of us as supervisors were following that guideline anyway, and then second of all, I think it's just a bad policy for a recruiting tool. If you look at our sick policy, it doesn't have the same guidelines either. You know, you can use your sick time, basically starting on day one, so. So those are the two proposed changes.
anybody have any questions for Brian, or do we have a motion to approve the changes in the personnel policy?
The one change just read wrong, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the length of service.
Yeah, it just has the wrong months in there.
Yeah, it's just confusing.
Yeah, it's just read wrong. We're just basically correcting how it's supposed to read.
Yeah, we're just cleaning it up, really, Yeah, it's confusing. And if, I don't know, if a couple of you commissioners remember that we approached you with this, was it August of 2021? 2021?
Yeah,
So,
and it was confusing, is it
right.
60 months, is it 60 months in one day?
Is it, is it completion of 5 years, 72 months, or is it 60 months? Yeah. So we just decided that as a group that, to clarify it, and, we're down to the months.
And I think as far as recruiting, I think we need all the help we can get sometimes in
Right.
recruiting, so.
And like I said, I don't think most, if any, of the supervisors are even following that policy anyway. We were granting annual leave to be used before the
Day one.
6-month anniversary, yeah.
Sure. Okay,
I would move to approve.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the policy changes from Mr. Singer? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Policy's changed. Thank you. Anything else?
No. Thank you.
Bev, Ms. Buckmeyer, would you, care to share?
Okay, for those that don't know, in the recorder's office, we do have a contract with the former recorder on doing back indexing. She did do it last year. We also signed a contract for her to do it this year. The contract, kind of changed last year, went to $18 per hour, where previously she was getting paid per document. according to your, it's on my line here. According to what Candy sent out to you, she's having issues with sitting for so long to try to do it. She's wondering if we can change it back to a per document fee. It would be 60 cents per document. Last year, we got her very cheaply for 35 cents. I don't think she realized how much work it was gonna be. When I calculated out even what she's done from March 1st to yesterday, we would be paying her less if we paid her per document than we would be paying her per hour. It's only about $150 less as of current. So I'm just looking to see if we can modify the contract to go with per document, 60 cents per document instead of $18 an hour. There is a cap of $25,000 for the year. So once she hits the $25,000, we don't, she doesn't do any more indexing.
Unless approved. Unless approved by us, right?
Pardon me?
I said unless we would approve it.
Yes. We added $25,000 to the budget to index for this year.
I'll move to approve to make it back to the
Okay.
60 cents an hour versus the $18 an hour.
Now, would you like to second? Okay.
Sorry, I thought that's what I said.
I knew what you meant. Okay, any further discussion? Got anything else?
I got a question. Do you hire a contractor every year?
Last year was the first year we've done it. We actually were able to get all of the documents scanned into the computer system, but the indexing takes a while. Right, we don't have time to actually do the back indexing. As of today, we're back from 1953 to current. It's indexed into the computer, so someone can come into our office, put in the legal description, and it'll bring up all the documents from 1953 to current with that legal description in there. It makes it very nice for our title companies and banks and stuff like that. Even with the foreclosure stuff we've been working on, it made it go a lot faster this year.
And Katie's working backwards, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
she is, she's working, in January, she started in 1959. So I'm hoping she'll be back into the 1930s by the end of the contract.
6 years already, so that's great.
Yes.
Other questions? Perfect. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you so much, Bev.
Thank you. Bye.
Tell Katie to enjoy that weather.
Yeah.
All right, Rhonda.
Hi.
And Rhonda Ellery, with Mountain Lakes.
My name is Rhonda Allery, and I'm the Director of Mountain Lakes Human Service Zone, which encompasses the counties of Ramsey, Benson, Towner, and Rolette, and I haven't met some of you, so. As you know, not only does Mountain Lakes Human Service Zone administer the zone's economic assistance programs, such as SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance, Medicaid, Child Care Assistance, and Heating Assistance to the citizens of the zone. We are also responsible for the child welfare programs, such as child protection, in-home case management, and foster care for the entire zone. We currently have approximately 60 employees. Actually, I think it's about 62, but in the zone. Out of those 60 plus employees, 17 of them are child welfare workers. When our child welfare units are fully staffed, we're at 17. The child welfare staff is housed out of the Ramsey and Rolette County offices. We currently have about 80 children in foster care, and we receive about 40 to 60 reports of abuse and neglect each month. So we're a very busy unit. I requested to be on the agenda this evening to publicly thank Ramsey County State's Attorney Bo Cummings and his team for the exemplary work that they do on behalf of children and families for Ramsey County. I'd especially like to highlight the successful prosecution of Howard Studhorse on 5 counts of gross sexual imposition and 1 count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. State's Attorney Bo Cummings and his team worked diligently to ensure a successful prosecution of a serial predator, all the while going above and beyond to prepare the minor victims for their testimony by ensuring the victims were comfortable and safe through the preparation and the trial phase. Since becoming the Ramsey County State's Attorney, Mr. Cummings has diligently advocated for all citizens in Ramsey County, regardless of their age. And for that, Mountain Lakes Human Service Zone, Child Welfare Unit, and all of us would like to say a big thank you. So I did send this to Bo before the meeting for him to approve, so thank you. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
Well, I think public acknowledgement and thanking somebody is a big deal, and so thank you for thanking Bo, and I know he's did a good job and doing a good job for
Yeah.
you and your.
Very hard work, almost unheard of to get a GSI with no physical evidence. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've been around a long time, only the second time I've seen that done, and he went to the wall on it and did very, very hard work. I can't say enough about it. So, child welfare workers were like, it was very, I don't wanna say rewarding, but, very helpful to see justice for the kids that we serve, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that, and Bill will have to watch the replay online, so appreciate you coming in tonight.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Kevin.
All right, to start out, I did get the rental rates back from the DOT for what our motor graders are, our size and year. We have 2 different years, so when I average all 6 of them out, it's $174.93 an hour, just for your information. And like I said, nobody goes by that century code. Cass County, nobody, so, but it is out there. Secondly, we're working on our summer maintenance contracts right now. Last year, we did have a contract with the city of Devils Lake, and we do a lot of their summer blading for them. Just wondering if you guys are still in approval to do that for the city, or should we talk to them about it, or?
I think that's a great idea. Unless you guys don't have the time, or you had a conflict in the past, or.
No, the only stipulation is we told them we would do their alleys. Our boards are longer than theirs, and they have, so it doesn't really work for us to do their alleys.
For the alleys, sure.
Basically just the outskirts.
Yep, just the outskirts of town.
Are they keeping you in the loop on that 14th Street and 14th Avenue project?
I did see the plans, but
Okay.
yeah.
You don't do any work on that,
No, before it was a 50-50 split with the township.
right?
So, I mean, we do work for the township.
Yeah.
Plus, we were doing work for the city, so we were blading those 2 sections of road.
Oh, hopefully they can get that area fixed up, because it was bad. That low spot over by the Mid-Continent cable, there, that low spot, it was wet all the time. And I don't know how they're gonna get that dewatered or whatever, but.
Towards the west end? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to close it periodically.
yeah,
That's who's getting the most attention anyway.
yeah. So,
KLJ actually did the design on it, so Paul's probably up to speed on it as much as anyone.
Yeah, I sent plans here last week, and I guess one of the sheets was Monday, but, we're gonna treat the top 1 foot with Portland cement, and mill it in and add water to pack it, and then put fabric and gravel up from there. So 10 inches of gravel and reinforcement fabric on top of the cement treatment, so that should take care of it. They got plenty of width there, it's like 42 feet wide, so it's gonna be narrower when it's finished, but
sure.
which is what you want.
Does that say priority over any other roads? I mean, how does that fit with the distance that the maintainers work now?
Oh, the blade, Actually, they have like a circle that they go through, you know, so when it comes around in the circle, it gets done. Now, they do that more than 6 times a year, so we have to jump in now and then to do it. That's how we do them all. It seems to be working most fair that way. You know, if you get a rain here and you get a rain down here, I mean, it just happens to work out that way. Otherwise, typically we do the county roads right after a rain, but
And that doesn't include 14th going west. That's not on there. Is that road's bad too?
no, this project we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just that half, for the 14th Avenue up to 14th Street and then 14th Street over to pavement.
Right.
So just wraps around Blue Park.
No.
And then it's on the city's federal aid system, so that was their design for their contract.
Sure.
And they built.
They actually bought all the right of way out too, so rather than have the line right down the center of the road, they'll own the whole road.
No.
About 33 feet outside the section line. And I think they were gonna annex that in last night. I'm not sure.
I think either they had a first reading on it or they did. Yeah. Do we need a motion to approve the summer contract with the city, or
No, we'll have to have one later on.
we'll have to have one later on? Okay.
And then one thing I had to add was, Greater Ramsey Water District is adding a water line to their system out by their Prairie. I think that's a pump station out there, I'm not sure if it's a pump station or what, but anyway, they're adding a 16-inch line that will go under our Prairie Road. And they plan on boring it, so we're looking for approval on a right-of-way utility permit to put that line underneath the Prairie Road.
Okay.
And that's usually something the commission approves.
We have a motion to approve the right-of-way for the Greater Ramsey Water District.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the right-of-way request for Greater Ramsey Water Resource or Water District.
Is that just a crossing or along it?
Nope, it goes underneath.
It goes underneath, yep.
I don't know if, why the need for the second line, I don't know the details of the project, I can't answer that.
It won't be in the way of culverts or replacing the DR. If they're boring, you know.
Oh. What's that?
It wouldn't be in the, it's just gonna cross the road, not with length down
Okay,
that way.
It goes east and west,
Oh, okay.
right by that pump station.
Okay.
By the US 2.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the right-of-way, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're gonna pause and allow Mr. Cummings and Judge Foudy to join us, and they're waiting on a jury, I understand. So they could come at any time. So Judge Foudy, will put you in.
Well, we've had an ongoing discussion, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 years, about discussion of having actually in-person security in the courthouse, specialized entrance, and I think we would like to go forward with that. From my perspective, I think it's, the commitment from the county is going to have to be more law enforcement, the minimum of, I would think, at least 1.5 deputies, or some kind of security, humans, somebody sitting at the door. The state would be willing to commit to construction of an entrance, a specialized entrance for that. Grand Forks right now is in the process of reconstructing some stuff in their courthouse for in-person security. They already have walk-through detection devices, that type of thing. The four larger cities all have, courthouses have go to the Capitol now, we have to go through metal detectors, that type of thing. So I guess I'm asking the Ramsey County Commission to support the idea of having that kind of security in this courthouse. I think that actually from a lot of us, from my standpoint, I think some of the people most at risk are social service agencies. You know, the only judge, there was one judge that was shot in North Dakota, and it had nothing to do with a criminal case. It had to do with paying child support. So that's when somebody came in the courthouse and said, "Judge, I don't like paying child support," and shot the judge. So, and we've also had some cases that, you know, threatening, that type of thing. That's not particularly unusual, but I just think there's just as a general proposition, there's a higher level of the possibility of violence in the courthouse. So that's what I'm asking for.
So basically you're saying one entrance, no matter who it is, employee or not, they all have to go through the one.
No, not necessarily. In fact, employees actually you could still have your same entrance by employees. I think in Grand Forks, I think they have a card that employees can go in.
Like badge readers. And I
Right.
think we've been working on some of that stuff.
Right.
Same-
Some would argue that that's not good policy because you're still not protecting people. But I was in a trial for an extended period of time, and this is several years ago. And at that time, I don't know what Cass County's situation is now, but at that time, we had an access card to go through a different door than what the public came in on. But in my recollection in Grand Forks, I've always gone through the metal detector in Grand Forks when I've been in there. So there's different ways of doing it. Like I say, in Grand Forks right now, they're constructing an entrance that's going to be secured in the sense that they'll be able to block the person off. So there'll be a gate. They actually will be able to shut them down from leaving, coming or going. That's being constructed. I don't know if they're doing that now, but that's what the state is paying for.
Mind if I add a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. It's been a long day. We just had a meeting on this. Commissioner Gesner sat in on it. He might be able to fill you in on some of the finer points of what we talked about. But just anecdotally, the other attorney who's here today, he said to me this morning, he's like, I couldn't believe there was absolutely no security in this courthouse. This is the only courthouse I've ever been to with no security. Even the little ones have a deputy or a sheriff around somewhere. So that might be something for you all to weigh when you're making your determinations as well.
In Benson County, when we have hearings in Benson County, so we only go there once every couple of weeks, but when we're doing our business, when we're doing court business, we always have at least one deputy. Most of the time it's more than that. So the smaller counties, that would be a waste of deputy sheriff's time to do that kind of business here. But so if you're going to do it, you need to have somebody at the door, in my view, to, go through the metal detectors and that type of thing.
So when you say that when you're in Benson County and when you're doing your business, doesn't matter if it's civil or
Right.
legal or criminal.
Right.
There's
Well,
always something there.
But then often, if we have a jury trial in Benson County, the jury trial comes here because they don't have enough space for a jury. So that's another aspect of it, but. And certainly we have security, we'll have deputies on high-level criminal charges. I mean, a lot of times they're coming in from custody, but even if they're not in custody, we will have a deputy sheriff sit in the courtroom. But I think it's probably time that we look at a doorway to go in there. And there's some logistical decisions you have to make. Are you gonna let employees come in the doorway? On the backside, I think from this, just from our physical plan, I almost think you almost have to. Because you can't have everybody coming in from the front door when everybody's working back here, parking back here, so. But all of those things are up for discussion. What I would like you folks to do is to take it seriously and find it in your meager budget to fund it. Because that's where the real cost is. Your cost is employees.
Cost will be continued to be employees.
Yeah.
Brian, do you work with wages and salaries and benefits? Have any idea what a starting salary would look like?
You just not factor in salaries, you're gonna be paying in benefits, payroll taxes, you know. Yeah, I don't want to say a number that I'm not gonna be sure of, but, I mean, we did, a maintenance guy's, salary, and can't even remember what came to it for a month, after you factored in all the payroll taxes. It was,
Judge, do you know on those big counties, the Grand Forks is when you go through the metal detector, is that the court facility or is it all their administrative facilities as well?
In Grand Forks, it's just,
One building?
I think it's just, well, I don't, do they have it in the county building now?
No, the court building is on the south side of the street and that's secured. And then all the administrative offices, your human services, public health, recorder, they're across the street and that's not secured.
That's not secure.
That's just anybody walks in. But I think in the office on the first floor, when you hang a right, I can't remember if it's auditor or treasurer, that does have a metal detector to come into that office. But as far as the other ones, I don't think so. I know public health has like a secure, we'll let you in buzz door, but I think that's more of a medical context than a safety context. Like, we'll come get you when we're ready.
Mm-hmm. No, certainly was.
When I worked in the gas county office, quite a few years ago, that was a key for employees and of course a metal detector. However, everybody still went up by the metal detector and walked through. Everybody, employees, everybody.
I've had a little more time to digest it since I was in the meeting on Friday. It's kind of a catch-22. It's the sad reality of what we're, the society we live in. I can definitely see where the emotions of civil action when there's kids involved or whatever is almost more, it's dangerous than a criminal trial, you know, that's coming out the way I'm thinking it. I think we do need to look at it, you know, not being through a budget cycle or any of that, I don't know. Reading the budget we have and actually correlating that between money coming in is kind of an abstract concept for me right now. But I do, I think we need to take a serious look at it because that is the times we're in and there's no, don't want to be doom and gloom, but that is the society we live in, is,
Well,
you don't know what's gonna make people do what they do anymore. I mean,
the two most secured offices probably in the courthouse or the clerk of court's office. Because Carl McKay several years ago called up Sheriff Nelson, said, I've got a bunch of uncertified shielding, if you guys want it, I'll just give it to you. So thanks to Sioux Manufacturing, we got some security done. We got some security done in our office, and the state's attorney also got that shield.
and
So, I mean, we've got some,
There's still some of that left over.
Yeah.
I mean, so if there's some fairly cost-effective things I think that could be done. Like I mentioned to Jeff, I hate to make the auditor's office, all walls and no windows.
well, yeah, I mean, this first floor is a disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, this is a 1960s building design that is not secure at all.
So I don't know what that looks like. I think we need to look at it. I think some of the other things that were brought up, the phone lines with panic buttons and stuff we've got a grant, which I forgot about, I would have mentioned on Friday, but we've got a grant to replace the hard wire stuff in the phone or in the courthouse here, so I think that will afford us an opportunity to update those panic buttons and stuff. Talked a little bit with Sheriff Lang too on Friday after the meeting, and there's the other half of the 1.5 deputies, I think, like everybody else, you could always use more guys. But like I said, I don't know what that looks like because I haven't been in a budget, but I think it's a legitimate, concern that we need to look at.
I think we got some ideas we can bring to the table after we discussed, I've sat down with my sergeants and we've come up with a couple ideas that might be able to be worked in as far as personnel. Law enforcement officers are tough to get as they are right now. My staff was scrapped. We're at our maximum. We could use more help, but I think we maybe come up with a plan that this is something that was gonna go through that might benefit the sheriff's office in the long run too. But I think it's something we need to sit down and really talk about and hash out and see if we can come up with a better solution.
So I have a question. So when you come over, you have a jury trial from Benson County, that happens without any security then? I mean, is it
No,
illogical to
if-
say that Benson County would have to provide?
No, it'd be Benson County Sheriff's coming over. If we have a Benson County jury trial,
You already do that.
and we have a Benson County deputy sitting, if we're requesting security, it's not Ramsey County, it's Benson County.
So that's already in place then. So
Right.
it's not a-
But for instance, today we had a misdemeanor DUI trial. So there's no security in that environment. A few weeks ago, we had a gross sexual imposition trial, so it was a class A felony, so we had a deputy sheriff sitting in the courtroom all the time. It's not only that you're afraid of the defendants, it's you're afraid of a whole bunch of other people that could go on you.
So then between the misdemeanors and the felonies, there'd be times when you don't need security then? Is that what I'm hearing or?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of trials where we don't have, I mean, that's the thing about having somebody at the door, security. Like I say, it's probably not gonna be a criminal trial where we have a shootout, it's gonna be a divorce trial. Some guy gets ticked off, and you're not telling me what to do. And I mean, those are the worst, those, across the country, it's family law that you have the worst violence.
Domestic situations. So Sheriff Lang, any other comments?
No, right now, like I said, I think we need to sit down and look at it, I think there is a solution out there. Says how we come up with the funding. I did talk to Sheriff Rhodey, and him and I kinda kicked this around, and we talked about it, maybe a cost sharing on a guy sitting down there, being they utilize this courthouse quite a bit for their trials and court proceedings, so it's a possibility there. They said there's a lot of ideas floating around, we just need to sit down and start hammering some things out, see which direction we can go.
Judge, would it be okay if we set up something with yourself, Sheriff Lang, myself as chairman, and State's Attorney Cummings?
I would deeply appreciate that, Chairman Fred.
All right. I think that's the least we can do, and the four of us sit down and see if we can't come up with.
We should bring Ethan Rhodey, Sheriff Ethan Rhodey, to that too.
Okay.
I think that'd be good. I mean, if you're talking about cost sharing with him, I think maybe you should be at the table. What do you think? Sounds like a good idea to me.
Cost sharing with other counties sometimes in their outside their property lines gets.
I don't care how you structure it.
Right. Yeah.
I just hope, I hope that we have some conversation and I can get state court administration to, say, okay, if you guys are gonna go with this, we're gonna pitch in. I think it's like a 75-25% cost share for upgrades, so. So metal detectors and designing an entrance.
And the front entrance is kinda set up perfect for one way in, one way out.
Right, good. Yeah, so in that aspect of the physical plant, it's a good situation. The other aspects of this building are not very good at all.
No.
That's just the way it is. So.
Yeah, I'm not gonna publicly announce the.
Yeah, you gotta build a new courthouse, I understand that.
Or give people potential ideas.
No,
On
I
how
don't.
they can do destruction. Yeah, so, but let's have that conversation and we can schedule that and hopefully we can have a meaningful conversation about it and see if we can't get some enhancements to our security.
Thank you. I want to thank the commission. I guess the court system, they call this a courthouse, but the court system essentially is a guest of the county.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate anything you can do to.
Well, we would appreciate the court system for ongoing funding. The one-time thing is really appreciated. But, the legislators continue to talk property tax relief, but this would be a good one to start with, and enhance small town security and small town courthouses all throughout the 53 counties. Because I'm sure we're not the only one that's in this type of situation.
Well, we had Pembina County 8-9 years ago. Some guy came in with a gas can and tried to burn the place down.
Yeah.
So.
We had an overnight guest here not too long ago as well.
Yeah.
So. There's evil in this world, unfortunately, and we have to do our best to combat it. So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I'm late.
No. Understandable. No.
Where do you wanna go next? I'm yours until they call me back.
Well, I think we had everything discovered. We were right in the middle of Kevin's agenda. Got through that, then we added a snow removal aspect to that. So we can go back to Kevin unless you'd have anything on anything else before we jump into that, or anything on the agenda that we need your advice on.
Possibly the insurance discussion, but that's under new business, I believe.
It is, but
That would be the only thing that maybe you would want me here for, otherwise I think it's pretty smooth sailing.
you know, yet to be determined. I appreciate your optimistic outlook. But if that's okay with Kevin, can we go to the insurance discussion?
Absolutely, yeah.
So the insurance discussion, it was 8 years ago that it was the Dakota Commission made a decision to go on a 5-year rotation with insurance agents within the community. And then a couple years ago, there was a decision, was it 3 years ago, I think, that we made a decision that because of NDERF's changes and how they're doing their policies, I think it was, that we decided to go with Bremer, and since they are fire, tornado, and our auto insurance was at staggering times, we decided to go for the 1.5 years to take us through that time period. And then we just it never got brought up again. So we're about 1 year behind on the insurance discussion. Right now we have an agent, we're with Bremer Insurance. They've been really good to work with, from my understanding. Candy and Jackie do all that with the insurance, and it's been going really well. So we would either have to have a motion to stick with an agent, go with a rotation.
Yep, so you can either have a motion to stick with the rotation and set up how you want your timetable, fix it basically. Or you need a motion that you're not gonna do the rotation. But either way, it needs to be addressed.
Sure. So I think from the February 4th, 2020 minutes, and there's a highlighted paragraph in there, a discussion was held on the NDERF insurance, choosing an agent, putting all insurance policies in one agent. Motion was made, seconded, that we'd go with Bremer Insurance until 2021, which the board would review again, and at that time follow. We'll review again at that time, I guess, was all it said. So that was the most recent. And I think dealing with the COVID matters and working remotely for a period of time and that, but hey, and none of us current commissioners were on the commission that made the decision 8 years ago to rotate, and then they set a schedule for that rotation every 5 years, and they actually even listed the companies that they were gonna go with by the years. That was at the end of page 6 on that
It's in Mrs. Fallsberger turns 2015.
every 4 years.
2019, USA American, well, you guys.
Yeah. So. I don't know where I got 5 from, but it was 4. So with that, thoughts, questions?
I remember right, when we switched to 4 years, we were doing every 2 years. It seemed like that's all we were doing was updating policies.
Policies.
That's the way we went to 4.
We need somebody with longevity. Thank you, Kevin. So every, from 2 to 4, and then the change with ND, in North Dakota Insurance Reserve, and then
Well, when that started, it was every year.
every year.
That was a nightmare.
And so,
It does state in this motion that was made and passed that, you know, you change every 4 years, and if you're not satisfied, you can drop the company. You read that, but the board having the option to change income if not satisfied with the company. All members voted aye, motion carried. So, you know, if they're not providing you your services, just like anything else, you could also always change. That way there's skin in the game for everybody to treat everybody kind of equal. You wanna call it that?
And really, there's no lowest bidder deal, because injured is all, they set everything, right? I mean, there's just, whoever your personal contact is, basically, you want.
That's what I understand it too.
Is that correct?
They only work for political subdivisions. That's all they do is schools.
Right, but I mean,
county.
it's not like you're
Yeah,
gonna.
There's no shopping.
There's no, I mean, they set the premiums and what you guys
Yep.
get and.
Yep, it's as good as it gets. There's no other real competition out there.
It's just the agent you're dealing with is basically what we're
Yes.
looking at now.
is there any money to be made in premiums, or are you guys
Of course,
all
well, commissions, there's commissions.
pretty tight on that, or?
I mean, it is what it is, I guess. There's no more commission with one agent over the other.
Right.
So as it change hands, it just, other than for increasing costs, that controls the commission. So every year, you know, more commissions you can probably account for.
Okay.
I imagine this was voted on so everybody gets a chance. It's just not set at one place. Because what I understand.
Yeah.
It's just to make it
Pass it
fair
around.
across through
The city currently does it too.
So in 2014 minutes where it says putting all policies, for there's things that injured does not cover, correct? For subdivision?
No, but if we ask them, they'll make it up. They're that good. They'll make up, they revise their own product. They're not set to like the standard ISO forms that all of our insurance is personal and commercial that we pay for. That's all controlled, you know, federally, how they can write coverages and things like that. And state's attorney, not state's attorney, the state insurance department takes care of approving things so that it's fair across the board. But the DERF gets to do whatever they want.
And they really work for us.
Yes.
typical subdivisions.
Yes, they just had a webinar the other day with them, the first one that I've ever had them put on, and they pretty much specialize in customizing whatever is needed. You know, so like if a county deals with some builder's risk, you know, where you're building a building, they never had that before, but they're willing to do it. You know, whatever you want, we'll do it.
Yeah.
then basically we were to go with this would start in 2025 or 24.
Yeah, do we stick to
So what was laid out for you?
It was written back in 2014, yeah.
So you guys get to set the tune here, right? If you wanna overturn your motion from 2014, you can. Sounds like, I mean, I wasn't here in the 2019 meeting, but it sounds like maybe it was partially overturned already, so you all need to decide how you want to do this going forward. It sounds like KNK wants a chance at the business, am I right?
Yeah, we were here in 2019. There was other agencies that were here too from town. And we were all, for the same thing. I think at that time, it was to decide who was going to be the one. But we all had shared interest. And at that time, I think that's what the board looked at, was they needed to table it for a later date to discuss.
And at that meeting that he was talking about, prior to that, the only policies that were out there that went from agency was the liability, the autos, the equipment and things of that nature, the general liability. That meeting that we all attended, all of a sudden now the DERF says, oh, now the property's gonna be available to our agent. They got tired of servicing all this, they're handing that back to the agents to have a little better eye in working with local than just the state.
Sorry, yeah.
So when is the policy?
Feel free to call me here if you guys have questions.
I believe one is January and one is June.
So they never did roll into one?
No.
Can we make it roll?
No.
The dates would stay the same.
No.
You don't change the dates.
I'm just asking. I don't know if it would. I know upfront, right?
So
They'll remain separate.
January is the auto
Auto, inland marine, and general
Yes.
liability
and July is the property.
property.
Yeah.
Yeah, state fire and tornado, yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally answers the question. I don't really see a good reason not to go back to a rotation. The coverage is the same regardless.
It's just making it, I think, the rotation's making it fair across the
Yeah.
community. I mean, I don't feel comfortable sitting here and saying not making it fair across the community. How do you just sit with one person all the time? I mean, obviously, we don't have to vote on it, but obviously back then, they didn't think it was fair to sit with one either, otherwise they wouldn't have come up with this motion. It's just we need to, like Will said, we need to come up with one word.
But you look at the size and the things from 2014 to now, like how much we've grown with buildings, equipment.
I'm not tracking where you're going with that. Does it matter if you're with regular insurance or?
No, I'm saying like the rotation, like how they set it up,
Oh, yeah.
So what we had within the county back in 2014 and what we have today.
So you still want to stay on the 4-year rotation? No?
4 years is not enough.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Just because of the work involved to
Yes.
switch from one company to the
Yes,
next.
yes.
Huge.
It's not just
Takes months.
I'm not just gonna hand you the folder and say,
Right.
You guys figure it out. It's working together, figuring out how you guys work, how we work, what we have, where it's at,
Can I add to that?
Mhm.
I don't know that the transition is that hard. When we've handed them over, it's an agent of record paper, and then they get all the policies sent to them. I can see like maybe dealing with somebody particularly in how they handle, intaking like a new vehicle, new piece of equipment. But, for agents that have that commercial knowledge, it shouldn't be that big of a transition.
It's all laid
It has
out.
been in the past.
It is.
so,
It shouldn't be.
Yes.
It shouldn't be. It's all laid out by the DERF. It's reading policies.
Yeah.
It's line by line of coverage, deductible, premiums, changes, endorsements, timely, processing paper, and we're capable of doing that just as any other agency would be. And it's what we do.
One thing that's, I will say, one thing that's super confusing is every time we switch, we have a unit number for every unit. So every time we switch, the new company gives that piece of equipment a new number. Doesn't match our number, it's something that they follow.
No, that's not possible. That's some internal program taking over what the DERF is doing already. The DERF sends out a policy, the deck pages. If there's a number assigned, that should not ever be changed.
It is.
We have other policies where truck numbers don't change years to year, equipment doesn't change item numbers.
The agent or the agency has no.
Somebody's changing it.
No, something's wrong.
We need
They're
to fix
changing-
that.
They're changing that to fit their format. Yeah, they're changing it to their format, not the DERF's format.
Yeah, you know, it's more of a.
It's black and white. We can't.
I don't understand why the deck pages would change either, because I know I've changed insurance companies from one to the next, and my deck pages read the same. And I understand what you're saying, that if that piece of equipment has a number, that number should stay with that piece of equipment.
Yeah,
It's too confusing.
Until it goes to its grave,
Yeah, I guess.
until you get rid of it.
Yeah.
It should never, that should never change. But why it has, and maybe that's why Candy's saying what she's saying, because it has.
I'd like to see the paper. Was it the agent's paper or was it the DERF's paper? I'd tell the story right there. Look, don't go back in your records. It's a lot of work, but the paper that's on would determine who made the change. And it shouldn't be. The DERF wouldn't want that. They're pretty powerful.
I have no idea. I haven't changed insurance agents in 40 years because I found one that I liked and stuck with it. So I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but I, trust Candy and Kevin's longevity and knowledge of how it's worked in the past. And it has been a number of years since we've changed, but I don't know if things would be different now than they were last time we changed or, but I think, if the commission has a direction they'd like to go, I'd be willing to hear a motion.
I realize this is probably relying on Kevin's been reviewing. So who had it before Bremer? I mean,
Could it be done?
Somebody had it for you.
It's supposed to go to.
I thought we had it when we turned it over in 15 to Bremer.
in 2015, you turned it over to
I
Bremer?
believe we did. I'd have to double check that. It was either us or American Insurance at the time, or Rivera now.
So that would be why you were on the bottom end of the
Yep,
rotation
that's why we don't get it
schedule.
until like 2030 or something,
Yeah, and we're fine with the schedule, the years. It's just that we feel living in the county, owning property in the county, being licensed insurance agents, skilled in commercial, working with the DERF already for the past 20, 25 years with other accounts. We feel very qualified that we could do the things that need to be done.
Right.
And it's not our intention to interrupt any flow. If there's common information that we can gain from the last customer or the last agency that had it, or if we're transitioning it and we can give some information to the next one that's coming, it's just a fair system. So we don't want any real issues, nor would you guys. So.
So right now, it's not up for change.
Well, it would be. I think it's up to us,
Right.
when I take it from home.
It's missed the last change.
Yeah.
As the notes were
Yeah.
laid out, and that's fine. We're not here to debate that.
COVID didn't help a lot of things.
No, it didn't.
That's probably why it was.
Didn't help anything.
no one ever even brought it up. because-
Well, right, you know, yeah.
So you don't think 4 years is enough, Candy, would you, I mean, do you have a number in your mind that would work better?
Depends how they can sell it to me. You know, it's a lot. I mean, it's,
Well, I can
A
see if you've
few,
been
it's
burned
like-
once because they're changing
Yeah,
your unit
I mean,
number, I
it's-
can see where you would wanna do that.
Not that often.
Right.
I mean, I'm fine with switching, but.
Yeah.
Boy, not every 2 years
No.
or, you know.
So if the NDRF has their way of doing business, how could an insurance company
But it
change?
wasn't always like that. We, like,
The only
Oh,
time-
because you used to have two different insurance
Yes.
companies?
Oh.
yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
they, yes,
See, and we never dealt with that at all.
yeah, we never saw that
Right.
side
Yeah.
of it. State Fire and Police.
So it was, the rotation would have been with the vehicles. Because NJRF had the commercial in all the buildings.
They had the build, yeah, the state
Yes.
fire and tornado had the buildings,
Yes.
Okay. I
and then
can
the
see
DERF
that.
had
Everything else.
equipment,
Autos, general
liability,
liability.
autos and general liability.
But the DERS paper should not change the definition, the deck pages, that should never be changed as it's issued. And once the agent of record changes, that's a piece of paper, then they're still doing their processing in Bismarck. They're taking all the changes of the last year, new changes, and when that policy comes out at 70 or 80 pages, it is the same, going to you, to us, to them, whoever. And the change will be made accordingly to how you want them done. But there is no other paper that's, you know, giving a different number, a different description.
The only
No.
time it should change is if Candy says we no
Yes.
longer have this vehicle, and
Yes.
now we're bringing it
Yes.
on.
That's the only time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, unless we get a call, we don't touch anything, or unless we have a concern, we'll bring it up with her.
I could see where you're concerned about that, because I guess what that would happen, you got to do the same way. I mean, we'd be-
Not gonna lie, I get kind of crabby,
Well, yeah, if it's not smooth
you
going,
know,
there's
and-
nobody in this room that would be happy with
you
it.
know, and, I mean, I'm not just gonna keep going to the past, but there's some where there was an incident that happened in the previous year, and then the switch was made, well, then they didn't finish things from the previous year, and then the other person had to try to figure it out.
Right. No, that can be an issue
Right,
for
for
sure.
midterm changes.
Yeah.
If there's midterm changes that aren't completed by the agent that gets to the DERF, and then the renewal comes out, the number, midterm changes aren't gonna be on the renewal. I mean, everybody's looking backward, where's it at? That would be an agent problem, that would be an
And
agent's problem.
that's,
And the two didn't play well together.
and, you know, another thing too, like you brought up, Blaine, is, you know, you guys can pick and choose if it goes well or not. You know,
Yes,
oh, you're no
yes.
longer on the rotation,
Yes.
we just had enough of that, you know, that's totally your guys' call for sure. Cause I wouldn't wanna buy bad service either.
And you can split it.
Split it like it was before
Yep.
then, and have two different agents
Yep.
for, well,
When you say split it, it was still, you had to enter from, one,
fire tornado property.
and then you had a totally different company and it wasn't entered, right? So currently that problem's kind of fixed.
They were always the same company, they were just in different buildings, now they're all on, they always were the same company, but we never handled.
We don't go directly.
Right, I
It used
understand.
used to be fire tornado.
You guys dealt directly with state fire and tornado originally, and then they didn't have the staffing, they don't have boots on the ground to evaluate buildings and things like that, so they've now switched it over to where agents handle that side of it, if that customer had that kind of policy. Some customers don't have property buildings, so.
So we can go back, we can go forward, we can, if you guys want time to think about it for 2 weeks and come back in the first meeting in April with a decision, or,
Can we table it for 2 weeks? the decision.
Yep. You know, since we've been out of rotation for so long, I'd like to keep it until at least the July one is coming due. And if we wanted to split it and rotate it at that
Well,
particular
that's the
time.
time I think it makes
Yeah,
more sense.
yeah.
Right.
I mean,
At
I-
the-
that's
60 days ahead of time,
Yeah.
30 to 60 days ahead of time.
and
Just for the agent record.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I guess I'd make a motion to table it.
Yeah, because there's no calendar date that's pushing priorities on anything, it's just, the calendar's our friend right now, everybody's friend on this. Appreciate it.
we have a motion and a second to table this until our next meeting. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Tabled until, the April, is it 4th?
Yes.
April 4th meeting. So, appreciate you guys coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving us the time, you guys.
Thank you. Snow.
Yeah, I guess, what do we wanna talk about?
How much more do you want?
Well, are we anywhere within that emergency bill, that 150%, do you think?
We're gonna be really close.
Really
on
close?
the
So
End of January, or end of December,
individual townships can apply for that on their own, correct?
they go through the county.
So everybody gets lumped together then?
Well, the bill itself says, tribal government, county, city, or township may apply to the Department of Emergency Services.
That was my understanding, I don't know.
Oh,
In the past, just to help the townships, I mean, there's some townships out there that, for lack of a better term, are a little lazy, and they rely on us to
Right.
find their information for them.
yeah,
Well, I think that's what we're finding out with the phone calls. To be honest with you, because I've talked to a few people about talking to their township. And they're like, what do you mean by township? Doesn't the county just take care of it? No, these townships need to put this out to their patrons that we're basically hired by them. And I don't think a lot of people understand, just like we had that
Right.
issue a couple
Had
months
that
ago.
conversation months ago.
Yeah, they think we're just coming every other day, and that's not how it works, you know? And I get it, when the wind is blowing every day, we all wish our road could be open right now, you know? And I think people are thinking that there's preference, but there's really no preference, it's just a rotation.
Right.
Like you
Has
said,
there been a discussion on, or request from any townships for pushbacks at any intersections or spots that are filling in on a regular basis?
Gotta think about that, maybe freshwater, they asked me some questions, but I don't know if they're ready to pull the trigger yet.
Okay, well, today is the first full day of spring. So we're patiently waiting up here in the North Country for some warm weather and some melting to go on, but Mother Nature keeps holding her grip on winter.
I don't think you're gonna see any pushback until our next snowfall, and that's when you're gonna hear some screaming.
Probably, in fact, I did talk to Post Construction, who does a lot of them, and they haven't done any this year yet, so.
Because the majority or all of it would be privately done, correct? You
Well,
know,
the township would have to hire theirs, we'd have to hire ours.
right. Yeah, it's not something that we have equipment to do,
No,
yeah.
no,
So,
And not something that we wanna get into.
no, that's
no.
really high maintenance type stuff.
Well, we just don't have the use for the equipment all the time.
No, true.
Right. I mean, if it was something we needed all the time, that'd be different, you know,
Yeah, but then,
going into,
yeah.
what do you get for a pushback every 3 years, every 5 years maybe?
Yeah, right.
You can't just have a cat, you can't just have a $300,000 cat sitting around for what if, you know?
So how about on the county roads? got any plans for, I mean, you just blowing them out?
We're just blowing them, doing the worst first.
And then if you can't get them out, do we have plans? That's when the plans would come in effect, or?
Yeah, probably, then we'd have to look at pushbacks too, we're not there yet, we're able to get them blown out ourselves right now, but.
So where are you at on that process?
We did south, well, a lot of them went south of town, and now, yes, we did, by the terminal. I mean, we're just kind of close to town, and then we'll start working our way out. Worst first, maybe.
Well, I would put County 7 on the worst, but that is bad. I drove that puppy yesterday. That is bad.
We did.
It is bad.
Worse than the truck road.
I drove both.
I'll drive a truck route. I don't know.
No, it's bad.
Truck road's bad, and you know, you got those low spots and then that curve, and then that road that goes on the other side of two past Butler, that one gets bad as well, but that's not a county
That's a city
road.
road, yeah.
Yeah.
Does the city move the snow on that? We do.
City contracts with us,
Or hires us.
yeah.
That's something I don't know has to be in play too. If all of a sudden, like for instance, we get in trouble where we're at, it's nothing that I understand that the township couldn't call close and say, hey, we need a grader out here. What's the difference if we're charging them $170 or if they're charging them $170, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and I believe back in December, we signed an emergency snow declaration. So, and the state just passed this yesterday, that, what is it, 2183 is the bill number. So, $20 million for emergency snow removal.
Is that a House bill or Senate bill?
It's a Senate bill. So we'll have to make sure that we,
And all I was suggesting, Jeff, is if we're getting 3 days of wind and all you guys can do is keep up with the county roads, that's where some of the townships might have to ask for help or someone else if we can't.
Right.
All we're doing is maintaining our county roads. How are we ever gonna get to the township roads without help?
yeah,
Unless people are just patient, but obviously people aren't being patient at this point. I
And
mean,
we do see that a lot of farmers go out and, you know, open the path anyway, so the bus will, they'll have whatever get through. Now that makes it a lot easier for us to widen them too, if there's a path there already. But then the next day the wind blows again, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough answer to the public, I think, it's just, but.
well, we want to thank you guys for doing the job that you're doing. I mean, we know there's a lot of roads out there. And the winter has not been nice, and the wind seems to blow every day, which makes things doubly difficult. Because like you said, when it fills back in already on the county roads, then you don't have that opportunity to go out and do the townships. So,
I think this morning we had 3 residents that were blocked in since, 10 days, whatever last Friday was. And 2 of them got out today, I don't know about the third one. And help from the farmers, we couldn't get through anymore with our stuff. So they're out there, and of course, we're on camera, but they all got a lawnmower with a deck on the bottom of it, that's it.
Takes equipment to live in the middle of nowhere.
well,
And my thing was is they needed, like I had told a couple of people, you gotta reach out to your township so that they know. They have to, because if the township doesn't know, and they're just screaming at you or I or you, I mean, we can't fix the problem. The township needs to realize that they need to get some help for the people also.
The freshwater chairman was in my shop before I came over here, and, he got a $10,000 bill and he didn't know that there was individuals calling the plow. Which, that's not how that's supposed to work. You know, I mean, that, to me, there is a chain of command. You call the township supervisor, one township supervisor calls Kevin.
Right.
You know, and then if they don't, then they need to talk to the guys that hold the portfolio and then proceed from there, but, I guess the question he brought up is, you know, is there, and I don't know the answer to this, does the county have emergency funds? Is there such a thing at the county level? I don't know.
We'll have to apply for it.
Right, I mean, it's not something that,
Oh, no, it's not.
you don't budget for an emergency fund, correct?
No,
And that's why we voted on that and set that up to get the
Yeah.
emergency funds.
so,
Even for instance, if we were starting to do pushbacks, let's just talk out loud here, that would cost us $30,000-$40,000, well, where do we come up with that, you know?
my guess that $10,000 for Freshwater Township would exceed that 150% threshold. So I think they'd be looking at like a 60% reimbursement on that. If I read that bill right, but,
I read it, like
You know.
you did, I mean, but we can check on it, yeah.
and when that comes, I'm not sure, but, June
June,
something,
yeah.
June
June
30th.
30th.
What's that?
June 30th.
What about June 30th?
Well, that's when the, funds will be distributed under this grant.
So you apply for it, you get it, and then you get it, and then you apply for it, obviously, so you should be here.
Right.
I would say, you know, 99% of our townships would have to get the information from us.
Right.
I mean, some of them probably got secretaries that are good enough that, you know, what file to dig in, but.
Well, that would private contractors, if they've hired them, qualify, you know,
Yeah,
that bill
absolutely.
would certainly qualify if they're out there hiring private individuals, private contractors.
No, the private stuff, I wouldn't.
We wouldn't have any of that, you wouldn't have it, that's something that the townships are gonna have to keep that record of. And, so,
So if they had to call someone, would they be calling Chris then?
or,
Well, if we need the guard activated, that's the only time Chris gets involved.
You know, come that stuff. Because everybody is an emergency, you know, and I'm not saying that it's not important that these people get their roads open. Everybody should be able to have ambulance service and all that, but I can't even imagine being on your side of the table.
Oh, they're ready to quit. It's the same 20 people that call every day, you know.
mhm.
The rest of them all understand, I live on a township road, I need to talk to my township officer. But there's a handful that don't get it, and you can't even draw them a picture to explain it.
So, okay, anything else on snow removal or questions for Kevin? Kevin, anything else for us?
No.
All right,
What do you say that bill was again?
2183. It's a Senate bill. Passed the House yesterday.
I've even tried to help you out.
Thank you.
I won't transfer calls.
All right,
I just give them the township chairman's number.
new business resolution in support of ND PERS. Commissioner Gessner, did you have?
I read it, I thought it looked good.
And this is something that came out of the discussion down in Bismarck.
Yeah, that was, township day or county
Day.
day or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Kind of an eye-opening thing that legislature, you know, majority leaders will tell you one thing, and then the guy running the system is totally 200% in another direction. I mean, disappointing is the very least you could say about that. The House bill needs to be killed, as far as that's my opinion. The Senate bill keeps the current defined benefits going, and it allows for the defined contribution for startup. I
feel
think-
like it's protected that way.
Yeah, and,
So I
I
think we
guess
got
it's a no-brainer for me, you know, I mean, to totally, and they sat right, the majority leader sat there and said that they dropped the ball last legislative session because they left 1% of the thing unfunded or whatever. The teachers funded that 1%. So not only were they 1% behind, but they lost the market increase. So that compounded it several times the way I understood it.
that hasn't made its way through, so there's still time to go ahead and approve this resolution in support of Senate Bill 2239 and at the same time oppose House Bill 1040.
I guess you need a motion, I'll make a motion that we pass the resolution. Unless there's somebody's got questions for me.
I understand the same way you understand.
No. We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to go ahead and have a resolution in support of the legislation, Senate Bill 2239, and oppose the House Bill 1040. Discussing ND PERS. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Update on the Highway 2 project. That's been taken off the table from my discussion with, gentleman from DOT. They look like they will be resurfacing that section out there. But as far as the J-turns, the RCIs have been scrapped due to public opposition, public comments to that. I indicated to DOT that we'd love to sit down and work out a different solution to improve safety throughout that corridor. And so hopefully they're willing to sit down and see what we can come up with other than a J-turn. Reduced speeds, they didn't agree to an entire stretch of 4 miles or 8 miles out to the rest area, but maybe extending that 55 a little past Walmart might be, they'd be willing to do that, maybe out to the, where Lakeview Dairy starts out there. Have the 55 section out there. Doesn't do a lot for the Ackerman Acres or the people living beyond that. Left-hand turns are incredibly dangerous out there. But that's what I know on that. And I think we had the same update. Anything else on the updated Highway 2 project?
In your conversation, did they mention extending the turning lanes?
No. Maybe, but that's not in their engineered. So in order to go through a project, they would have to do an engineering deal, and so
Environmental and all that.
environmental and, yeah, so. No. Visitors delegations. Crickets. Announcements. We had a chamber meeting yesterday. Went really well. Susie Kenner was hired as the executive director of the chamber.
She applied for it, huh?
So, they just sent out a press release this afternoon, so. Should be okay to announce that. You're gonna make it over here?
I think it goes.
Sounds like you giggles. Any other announcements? With that, meeting adjourned.